Hello again, everyone. It's Kaz BIELEN. This is Casual Conversations, where we have these nice little casual conversations with people who are important to our world. Today, our great guest is Vicky Lynn Morgan. Hi, Vicky. How are you?
I'm doing great. Good to see you.
You look great there. Nice to see you, electronically at least, you know, all over the world, World Wide Web there. So, Vicky, your experiences in the multiple places. It's counseling people. You're an educator. You're in the pet industry. You're in, I guess, business, helping businesses grow, expand, or start up. So better than me telling, why don't you tell me a little bit in like 2-3 minutes about your vast knowledge that you've acquired over the years?
Well, I have acquired quite a bit of knowledge over the years, and I just dropped a little special light that I had here.
Oh, no, you still look great. Keep going.
Now, back years ago, when I was about 8 or 10 years old, I was a sales rep with Xerox Corporation, and that's where I was trained in professional selling skills. And from that point forward, I was really always interested in sales training and the concepts in selling. After that, I became the first woman to own a manufacturer's rep agency in the pet industry, and I used the knowledge of selling and marketing that I gained from Xerox to build my business, and I've been in that industry for over 40 years. But along the way, I've developed a keen interest in helping small business owners. And back in 2001, I became a counselor with the New Jersey Small Business Development Centers, and have had opportunities to teach many classes. It's all material that I create, that I've studied, and that I have experience in. And also, what's interesting, and I haven't told you this, but back up until probably 2 years ago, I've counseled over 2,000 people.
Wow.
I've kept track of all their names on my invoices, and I've been able to see how many people I've counseled. And I've taught I have had speaking gigs in a lot of trade associations and trade groups in the pet industry, as well as networking groups here in New Jersey. And between the speaking gigs and the teaching, I've done over 1,000 sessions since 2001. So you can imagine the number of people that I've had experience in working with, and it's been quite a journey. Actually, it's been very rewarding. I'm afraid to give it up.
Well, what I like is that you use your real world experience, you know, what you've seen in person, what you write about, what you speak about, and nothing more relatable than speaking to someone who, you know, you can connect with. Like, did that ever happen to you? And you say, well, yeah, maybe once, maybe a whole bunch of times. What would you like to hear? And you're such a wealth of knowledge and information. And again, we're speaking with Vicky Lynn Morgan, and Russmore.com is the website. And trusted advice from real world experience. That's what I just said. And it's true. And she's also a very unconventional strategist, guerrilla marketing coach. And I've seen her in 1 or 2 places. And, you know when Vicky's in a room, that's for sure. Either it's an outfit or a certain way, you know, she presents something, but it's amazing. Let me show a few little short clips of Vicky out there in the world. This is like 1 minute. So you see that what we're talking about is real. She's out there. And check this out, folks.
Businesses that want to get known in the marketplace have to build their brand identity. And that identity really comes from having a sense of how they need to, the owners and the people who work for the business, how they present to the marketplace. But also we have the brand identity of the product or service itself. So when they come to the show, they need to determine where the people are located on the floor that they want to see. And typical suggestions would be to walk the show floor first, if you can do that, to determine where people are located, and then go back and then stop at the ones that you definitely need to see. Is to know your target audience. Who exactly are you best suited to serve? Who needs, wants, and can afford what you have to offer? By knowing your target audience, you have a sense of how to reach out to them, and you will be sure to have products available to meet their needs. So it's good you have to know your target, and you have to know how to reach them.
One thing I noticed, Vicky, is your jackets or blouses are very colorful. You know, is that like part of the guerrilla marketing plan to get people to kind of give you that second look and like what's going on here and start a conversation?
Well, it's interesting that you say that. It's important that you appear in a way that you want people to remember you. And what's really funny, at many shows, I used to wear a flower on my shoulder.
Like a handkerchief? Like a handkerchief?
Well, yeah, it's like an artificial flower that came on with a magnet. And later on, somebody said they gave a remark about my talk, and they said, "Oh, nice flower." But I teach trade show marketing classes, and nobody does it. I've been doing it for years because I got so disgusted with the way the manufacturers that I was working with were handling
Yeah.
the shows. And I teach people to wear a badge on the right-hand shoulder. And I know for a fact that I'm the only person at a trade show that has thousands of people. I'm the only one with a badge right here, but you are your own brand. And you want to remember, you want people to know who you are and to build that identity. And so having your badge right here, as opposed to one that you're wearing around your neck that flips around, that's what I do. And I tell people to carry a magnet or a pin with them for any event, whether it's trade shows or networking events. You have to be memorable. So.
Wow, that's great. Vicky, so, today we're communicating electronically, via the internet and the technology available and the great cameras. So we all both look very nice, very good on camera. Thank you very much. And but, especially you. People can text each other, but what's important is the sort of, for us, the old world way of communicating, just picking up a phone and, talking to someone. Or through earbuds or whatever. But, so let's get into that because you got some valuable information. And of course, you give also or classes on that subject. So let's talk about that.
Okay, I'd love to. What's interesting is that companies need to have people that are skilled in their sales approach, but they don't bother to train their employees, and the employees themselves don't take any courses, so they don't know often what to say. And in fact, it's amazing with the counseling I've done. You'd be surprised how many people have said to me they don't like to sell, and yet
Really?
they're a business owner. They don't like to sell. I mean, they have to learn. Yeah. So the approach that I take is such that they have a game plan that they can follow, and they can use whatever parts of it are appropriate for their business. So for example, if you take a look at I have a slide here entitled step number 1. And before you ever speak to somebody on the phone or in person, you have to pre-plan that call. So it's your goals, your belief system, preparing any selling tools that you need to have. You need to study the people that you're going to be speaking to. And it's a good idea to have a list of questions that you're going to be asking them, because as a salesperson, you're in control of the sale. So you can't control it unless you understand where the person's coming from. You also want to study the competition, because your prospect or customer may be using a competitor's products or services. And then there's what I call a proof portfolio. It's really resources that you're going to assemble just in case you need them to support the point that you're making in that phone call. So that's the beginning of the beginning of that process with somebody. Then, and the step number 2 I have also on a slide for you is it's important that you use your time wisely when you're talking to a client, because you don't want to lose them. So what I often recommend is that you start the conversation with a connection to that individual. So especially if you're making a phone call to somebody, you can't really say, "Hi, I'm Vicky Lynn Morgan." If they don't know who I am, they don't care who I am. So it's important to say something that they can relate to. So I might suggest that when you call them up, say, "Last week you asked for some more information about a product and service. I'm Vicky Lynn Morgan." So this way.
Also, Vicky, what I would also find is that, if someone helps you, like, or name drop, "Hey, I know Vicky, who we were just discussing, and she said it'd be a good idea to call you, and you're a great resource for this information," and tell us some little bits that you would inform me that they would really like to talk about, and that ringing that bell of a known person, I think, connects. Because there's this one interview person who we did on Casual Conversations, Ed from New York, and he was on SNL, Saturday Night Live, early days, but a friend I went to college with, they worked on the project with him. So I just called him up, and actually I used Facebook first and LinkedIn, but I called him up, and the first thing I said is, "Oh, this guy David, you know him, he worked on John Lennon tributes and stuff." And he goes, "Oh yeah, David," and boom, that wall was broken down right after that. And I asked him, and he said, "No problem, I'll be on the show. Just let me know when," and boom, we're good friends after that.
Well, that's it. What you just said is perfect, and you're exactly right. You have to connect with them. And another thing that you said, you used the words "you." The words "you" and "your" are most important either when you're speaking or when you're writing. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people start saying, "Oh, I this" or "we that." You can't. Any sales encounter with someone is about them. It's not about you. So the words "you" and "your" are critical. And then one time I heard somebody say the idea of the three undeniable truths, which was on that slide. And what you want to do is get people in a yes mode. You want to get them into a positive frame of mind. So if you can make some comments about something that would generate a yes, that would be great. Like, boy, today the weather's really great, isn't it? They're going to say, yeah. They're not going to say no if it's a nice day. Or I love the outfit that you have on today. It's really attractive. Say, oh, thank you. So you want to get people thinking in a positive mindset as you get into the sales presentation.
Okay. So do you like this interview so far?
I love it.
I was expecting you to say yes.
It's because
Another trap.
You know, your cat, you've caught me on several topics that I have a passion for, and I like helping business owners. That to me is the number one goal. If they can walk away, they can leave the meeting with me with ideas that they can put into practice.
Yeah.
And I have people come back to me after I've counseled them, or they've written notes to me, and they've thanked me for what they've learned, and they report back and they say, well, I did this and I did that. And I said, well, that's great. Come back and we'll come up with some more ideas for you. So you list the things that you think it would be good to discuss. And you're going to say, is it okay if I ask you some questions? And then before you actually get into the Q&A to explore what their concerns are so that you can make recommendations, you would say, is there anything else we need to add? Now, that's a statement that's very important, and I don't believe that other sales trainers teach this. You want to make sure that all the cards are on the table before you get into the actual discussion of their needs and their wants, their concerns, and their painful situation. You want to get all the cards on the table, because if you go to ask for the sale, they may bring up a stumbling block, a roadblock. Well, you want those roadblocks right on the table. So that's the point of that statement in that slide.
Can you give me an example, like a little example of, what might happen?
Well, let's say that, yes. So let's say somebody says, well, I need to know, before we get into the discussion, I need you to tell me what the cost might be. Mm-hmm. And I don't believe selling on price, but you could say and I'm not crazy about asking what people's budgets are, although that does fit into some of these discussions up front. But you could say, well, people that buy this type of product typically will spend between this and that. And then how does that sound to you? Because you always want to throw the ball back into their court to get feedback. But let's say you get to the end of the sales presentation and they'll say, well, it sounds like it's too expensive. I can't afford it. So here you've gone through the whole presentation only to find out that at the end that they have what you might call an objection. And if you can overcome that before you get to asking for the order. And by the way, I want to put a little sidebar in here. People always talk about closing the sale. I don't like that word. I never did, because to me, when you hear the word close, it's like that's the end of the discussion when you close the sale. When in fact, when you get an order, you want repeat and referral business. This is critical. So if you close the sale, that doesn't keep the door open to continuing the relationship. So I would rather have people say that they've earned the sale, they've earned the order, they've earned it because they have worked to get it. So let's call it what it is. It's you've earned it, and you've earned the opportunity to then move forward with that relationship with your client.
Hey, Vicky, I experienced this myself. So I met with the client. I gave them everything that we're going to provide for them, and then I gave them a price. And you know what they said to me? I'm really insulted by that price. What do you say at that point? It's true story.
Is that true? Yeah. There are several techniques that one can use. Say, oh, oh, so you're concerned about the price. What exactly do you mean by that? In fact, the word exact really comes in handy many, many times. Well, tell me exactly what you meant, how you feel about it, because people make decisions on emotion and they justify on logic. So,
Yeah.
why do you feel that way? Or can you expand on that a little bit further? Or
Well, I did something similar to O. I just didn't say anything
okay,
back. And it was the silence, the cone of silence, like, and whoever broke the silence first lost,
that's true.
and so they just kind of waited it out and said something, and then we started a conversation. In the end, wound up doing a lot more work for them because that's the way they kind of related to people saying stuff like that. Some people might think it's like little jolts or insults or something, and they enjoyed that little game, So
Yeah,
if they said something, if you fought back, later on you could say fight back or just kind of throw a little mini insult, whatever you want to call it, back and forth, and that's their game. So if you didn't do anything, I guess it showed to them weakness, or, well, that's not a person who's into whatever. So that broke the ice sort of by silence, and we still communicate and do work from that point on. So, but that was a true story. That really happened to me. I'm
yeah.
insulted by this price.
Well, I agree with you. That is a technique that you can use. If you're in a position where you want to find out more about what's on their minds, then repeating what they said and then asking for a clarification on it.
Yeah.
So there's different ways to handle it, but I totally agree with you. And that's a technique that is typically used when you ask for the order and then you shut up.
Yes.
And then whoever speaks next determines the outcome.
It worked. It worked.
You did a good job with that. I like that.
Can't do that here because it'll be just us kind of like, what to get for it. So let's get to the benefits. So let's say you did everything you're telling people to do. So what benefits can they expect? Immediate benefits and maybe, benefits down the line for preparing for a phone call.
Well, as far as benefits are concerned, I have this slide here. You don't sell what you do, you sell what the people get. People often say, we do this and we do that. And in fact, as I said before, the sales call is all about the client. It's not about you. So this sidebar, I guess you could say, some people will say, well, I have to sell myself. Yeah, you are selling yourself, but the reality is you're selling the benefits of why somebody should do business with you. So it's important that you focus on the benefits. A feature has no value unless a benefit is attached to it. And one of the techniques that I recommend is that when you state a feature of your product or service, you say two words, which means. And when you say which means, that leads to the grand finale, which is the benefit. It's what I call the keep your fork statement.
That could be sharp.
If you're out to dinner with your family, you're having a wonderful meal, people are clearing the table, and the host says, keep your fork. Well, what do you think of when you hear keep your fork?
There's more food?
There's more food. There's more coming. Could be a great dessert's coming. Well, when you say which means between the feature and the benefit, you're saying there's more coming, and that is what the benefit is. So people don't buy what you do, they buy the benefits that they gain from doing business with you.
Okay, let's go on a little further.
Okay, this one's fascinating to me. And again, I don't think people teach this. When somebody gives you a positive statement, you want to make it even better. So for example, let's say that if I say to you, Kaz, the programs that you record are really great. I really like them a lot. So what would be your response to that? I'm testing you.
I would say, thank you. Did you learn anything from them?
You can certainly say thank you. It's great to hear that. But when somebody says they like something, within those few seconds, I don't believe they've thought through why they like it. They just know they like it. So you want to reinforce the positive and give them a reason why they would like it. So your response might be thanks. In fact, what you're going to find out is that you can leverage that video and use it for other business opportunities or on your website, or you can send this to somebody to build your brand identity.
It's a benefit.
So that's the benefit. Yeah.
See, I learned fast.
That's good. But this is the kind of thing people don't think about. It makes something that's good even better.
Yep.
And you could say, how does that sound to you? But always repeat what people say before you launch into a response, because you want to make sure that they heard what was said. There's a mutual agreement as to what was said, and messages can get messed up from the giver to the receiver and in between.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think on a phone call, it's important to repeat that you heard, because there's nothing to look at. There's no body language to interpret. You have voice, I guess you can interpret. They could just say, "Oh, yeah, that's interesting." I mean, you have to really be sort of an actor, a player, to be able to convince the other person and keep them engaged, because you don't know, there could be a distraction. If they're talking to you, interesting, someone's in the door saying, "Hey, there's an important person here." They could say, "Well, I gotta go." You don't know that, so there's a lot of things you have to, I mean, is there science to reading, like tone of voice maybe, and bouncing off of that?
Yeah, actually the tone of voice is remembered and picked up more so than what's being said. And if you're in one-on-one with somebody, the body language also plays a role in all of this too. You have to be able to read people to make sure that you're gaining the signals that you can use to further that relationship, because it's all about partnering with your client, solving problems, and being there to support them. In fact, Jeffrey Gitomer is one of my favorite authors. He talks about being a trusted advisor. So all of this plays into building that long-term relationship. And by the way, the long-term relationships are important because it's less expensive to keep a customer than it is to keep getting new ones. So that's another thing we talk about.
Less expensive to keep a customer than
is to get a new one. Yeah. And for some people, trying to find a customer is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. So your messaging, your outreach is important. In fact, you mentioned that I'm into guerrilla marketing. I earned a certification in marketing guerrilla marketing certification a number of years ago, and I learned so much about that. And one of the tips is that it takes multiple exposures to get noticed. So you have to be out there all the time with a message that's consistent, that there's continuity, and you surround your target audience with an awareness of your products and services and the benefits that people are going to be gaining from doing business with you. It's about building trust. And and another sidebar I'll give you is that your marketing really helps to validate the buying decision. So whereas there are a lot of salespeople who don't get back in touch with the customer after they've made the sale, it's important that you continue the relationship, because you're reminding people that they made the right decision to do business with you.
So did you make the right decision in appearing on Casual Conversations?
I think so. I hope so. I hope that the folks that view this program have some takeaways that they can use. I'd love to hear back from them, actually. And
no, that'd be nice. We're going to put all the links to all of Vicky's videos, including, those are just clips from some of the videos. The actual videos will be linked below on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever we post these videos, or whatever comes out in the future will be there also. And I just want to let you know that you have the right to have casual conversations with anybody else you want. It's not exclusive casual conversation, but thank you. It was very informative, very exciting, I think. And, you have so much knowledge. I think we'll have you back on future episodes, talk about, your pet industry information, and lots of other things. Guerrilla marketing, I think we want to get into also, and do some crazy guerrilla stuff. I think, maybe relate some stories, about guerrilla marketing, one after the other, or maybe we can do like a role play. I play the client, and you play, or the reverse, and and have some fun with that, because sometimes people relate more when they see a situation, and take it to the extreme or whatever, and then show people what happened, or then do it, show them the right way to do something. So I think that'd be great. If anybody wants us to do more of that kind of stuff, or start that, let us know in the comments below. How would you wrap it up? Like, what are the key takeaways you think for the conversation today that people should really remember and take from this?
Whenever you have an engagement with a client, pre-plan it as best you can and have set your goals. What do you want? What do you want to accomplish? If you don't have the goals preset, you may walk away saying, "Oh, this didn't work. It wasn't a good idea, or I didn't get the order." So have goals. The goals are not necessarily getting the order. It might be uncovering some intelligence about the client, building brand awareness, getting connections with people. But always set goals, whether you're in marketing or selling skills, using your selling skills or your customer relationship management skills. Set the goals first.
There's different ways people can reach you right there on the screen. And, I'm sure Vicky will pick up the phone call and talk to you. If you call her, if you email her, I know she gets back very quickly because she's always, even though she's out there, she's connected with the world.
Yeah.
Right. And thank you very much again. It was great talking to you, great information, and keep having these great casual conversations, like I said. That's the best way to communicate, right? Person to person still.
There you go. Thank you, Kaz.